On the podcast today, we bring on Greg Fargo. Greg is the head coach of the women's program at Colgate University. Unprecedented levels of success for that program since Greg's taken over. They've made the national title. This year, they for the first time ever, won the ECAC. So really heading in the right direction. I love what he's doing with the program with his mantra, play free. Dan, what did you love about this one?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up play free. That's what I was going to say too. He's the kind of coach that you would want to play for. Definitely. Very progressive thinker, inclusive, just moving the ball in the right direction. Had a lot of fun chatting with him. How about you?
Loved how we're talking about possession play, keeping the puck, making people be their best selves. And there's a few ways that we talk about in here, how we go about that. For example, giving permission, possessing the puck, making plays, even in spaces where traditionally, like in front of the net or at the blue line, you wouldn't hear that. So I loved where he was heading with this, and it's got to be a joy to absolutely play for him. I would definitely want to do it, and I can't imagine that no one else would want to play for him, because it was a fun conversation, and you could see that he's always thinking about others and pushing the game forward.
Agree. And without further ado, our interview with Greg Fargo.
On the podcast today, we bring on Colgate women's coach, Greg Fargo. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Really excited. You just came off another great season. I mean, Colgate has been in great hands under you, and it's shown in the records. And it seems like better and better people as well are seeming to come out of Colgate. So before we get going into all of that, let's hear maybe a little bit about your background, where you came from. I know you used to be a goalie.
Well, for me, I grew up in Ontario, in Eastern Ontario, playing hockey, as a lot of young boys do up there. And I grew up in Kingston, spent a little bit of time in a place called Wolf Island, Ontario, moved around to Cornwall. And so had a couple different stops along the way, but ended up playing my junior hockey and minor hockey mostly in Kingston. And that brought me down here to New York. Played 4 years at Elmira College. Had a great experience there, a little Division III school just down the road here from Hamilton, and had a great experience, as I mentioned. But after college, I was lucky enough to get right into coaching, hung the pads up, and moved down the road to Buffalo to coach at Canisius, where worked with their Division I men's program, and was a graduate assistant coach for 2 years, and really caught the coaching bug there under Dave Smith, and had a great experience doing that. So the opportunity to go back to Elmira opened up, and that's where I got into the women's game for the first time, coaching the women's program at Elmira. They had a tremendously successful program for a number of years, and I got my first head coaching job there. I was 24 years old and jumped right into it. We had a little bit of success, and the opportunity that opened up to come over to Colgate 4 years later. And so my family and I moved down the road here to Hamilton, and time flies when you're having fun, but we're 9 years into it now. And, it's crazy how fast it's gone by, but it's been a great place for me and my family. And luckily we've been, as you said, just been surrounded with such great people, and, just enjoying every day here in Hamilton at Colgate.
Why is it that so many goalies turn into great coaches?
Yeah, that's a great question. I've been asked that a lot growing up, and maybe you guys have a bit of a better insight on that. I don't know what it is exactly, but I mean, it seems like everywhere you look, you see former goalies behind the bench. I guess for me, what comes to mind, like growing up in Ontario and in youth hockey, I don't know about you, but I didn't really have a whole lot of goalie specific coaching growing up. Not a whole lot of individual attention, especially throughout the year. And I think as a young goalie, in order to get better, you kind of have to be, somewhat surgical and analytical about your own game. If you're not getting feedback all the time, you've really got to be analyzing and watching others, and really in tune to what they're doing well, and what you can add into your own game, and how that might benefit you. So I think, when I look back at it, I was doing a lot of that, until I got to junior, until I got some specific goalie coaching or individual goalie coaching. Was always trying to add different pieces to my game. And so I don't know, I think that's another skill that good coaches have. They have the ability to assess their team, and figure out what they're doing well and what's not going well, and also figure out opponents and how to beat them in terms of strategy. And so I think that's something that I've always enjoyed, is just watching others and seeing how other programs do things, and other coaches do things. And I don't know, maybe it's had an impact on my coaching, my goalie background growing up. But for me, truly, I think the passion for coaching has resulted out of really just being able to combine two passions of mine, which is teaching and the game of hockey. And I grew up working every summer camp there is, and being on the ice all day long, coaching kids, and really just enjoying that process. And so for me to to move into the coaching world and profession, it made a ton of sense, and hasn't felt like a day of work ever since I started.
I've heard that many times. Like, goalies are more observant than others, which is super true for my brother who was a goalie. Like, he would just, we were both shy kids, but he was particularly like just observant. Like, you would ask him a question, he'd be right on the ball. So I think you're probably spot on with the being observant, taking information, being very analytical on it.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious how that's led to your evolution as a coach, and where maybe you started when you were 24 being a head coach to where you are now as a head coach, and how that's kind of evolved over time.
Yeah, well, I think as a young coach, as I said, I was fresh out of college, going into my first coaching job as an assistant. And not only that, I was a Division III player going to coach a Division I program, and coaching a lot of players at the time that were in fact older than me, quite a few of them. And so even, very early on, I learned quickly that I didn't have a lot of the answers. I can remember, my first day on the job at practice, players coming to me asking questions about breakouts, and being a former goalie, not really paying attention to the intricate details of team play. I didn't have the answers, so I had to quickly figure that out. If I was gonna stay in coaching, and luckily I was so fortunate to have two great mentors on my first stop at Canisius. I worked with head coach Dave Smith, who's now at RPI, and Mike Mankowski, who was the other assistant coach at the time, and now works in Toledo, Ohio, with youth hockey group there. So had tremendous mentors that were extremely patient, and I think the other thing is really got to dive deep into the X's and O's early on. Studying our team, studying other teams, trying to figure out the game plan, and I think with the leash to be able to do that and explore, the X's and O's became a big part of, even though it wasn't a strength at the beginning, it became a big part of what I was able to bring to the table. A couple years into my coaching experience at Canisius, and then when I moved over to Elmira, and I was a 24-year-old head coach, I think what I did then was just really download everything that I had learned and everything that I knew onto my team, and whatever was working at Canisius, I brought over to Elmira, and for better or worse, that's what I did. And looking back at that, it's a little bit cringy for me, thinking about what I was like as a 24-year-old head coach coaching women for the first time. And for me, looking back at it, I was coaching with power tools. There was a lot of rules, there was consequences, heavily influenced by, X's and O's, and being outcome oriented. And I think when you're like that as a young coach, it really puts a strain on the relationships of the people that you surround yourself with. It didn't take me a whole lot of time to figure that out. I think, for me, as I made the transition over here to Colgate, I think I quickly learned that, we had to work on, or I had to work on strengthening the relationships and really creating an environment here where people can do their best work. People are motivated to do their best work and can thrive in the environment that we as coaches create. And I think over time, I've been so fortunate to surround myself with great people, great players, and it just seems like the more that I invest in relationships and motivating and inspiring others to do their best work, we've enjoyed the outcomes. And so that's how I feel like I've changed as a coach over time, and hopefully I'm having a positive influence on others now.
Yeah, that's awesome. Coaching with power tools. I'm going to have to add that to my vernacular. I've never heard that before. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Real quick before I forget, I just looked up Mike Mankowski because you mentioned him. He's in Toledo. He's a director for the Sylvania North Stars program. Greg and I are both in Ohio. That's a great program. So shout out Mike for doing good things with that. That's a really strong program in Toledo. So that's awesome. One thing I wanted to ask you about, and I guess it's kind of a natural segue here, what was it like going from, coaching at Canisius to the women's game, like especially at first?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I really didn't know what I was getting into, making the jump to women's hockey. And it probably may not have been the most popular decision at the time, but, looking back at it, for me, it was the best thing that I've done, in my coaching career. I think not just as a young coach, but, coaching women, I think it really opened my eyes, and I quickly needed to become a great communicator, and be detailed in my delivery. And, because the women really wanted to understand, what I wanted them to do, and they wanted to do it the right way, and so how I said it was important, what I said was important, but also how I said it was really important. So I think as a coach, just how you communicate, I quickly needed to evolve there, but yeah, this is where I think coaching women's hockey has been so great. I mean, it's really, when you watch it, it's a beautiful game. It's very free flowing. Obviously, there's not as much contact, but there still is contact in the game. And I've been lucky enough to coach some of the most competitive people that I know in my time coaching at both Elmira and Colgate. And yet, I think what's exciting about the women's game is that really it's a game that's still young. The first women's world championship wasn't played until 1990, which wasn't that long ago. And so I still feel like the room for growth in our sport, exists tremendously. And for me and our staff, I think that's something that really excites us. We want to get behind the growth of the game, because for the women that we coach, they've really, they grow up watching the NHL, and our game on the women's side is so different. And there are a lot of differences to it, but yet along the way, they've been told, some of them in many cases, that, they can't do what the guys have done or can do. And that's where we really want to challenge that. I think, on a larger scale, we want to change that part of the game. We want to change that expectation of the athlete. I think, why can't they do what the men do? Why can't they, even better yet, why can't they find their own way of expressing skill? Maybe that's unique to the women's game. Maybe it's something that's never been done before or thought of. I think really there's so much opportunity in our game to keep it moving forward. And I know that's something that, it motivates me, to just make a dent and move the needle forward in our game. And I still think there's a tremendous, opportunity for growth there.
Love what you just said there. The ability to make it their own. Like, I don't think there's anything higher than that, because everyone's like, oh, I want to be like XYZ, but why not just go your own way and make it your own? I think that's really powerful for young people, especially. Curious on that last point of where do you see the room for growth And maybe how are you going about creating that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think, what comes to mind for me is the younger me, like a lot of young coaches, as I said, was so, driven by X's and O's and structure, um, and really kind of putting the reins on players. I think as coaches, a lot of times we want to control everything that our players do on the ice, and that's where I feel, um, the opportunity is in the women's game. I think, my younger years, dealing with players, um, many of them were afraid to make mistakes on the ice. They were afraid to explore the game. They were afraid to try things out there. And I think upon reflection, that really falls on me as the coach, to change that and to try and create an environment where our players feel really comfortable about trying new things. And so, and not being afraid to make mistakes on the ice from time to time. I think as coaches, we take things so personally. When players do make mistakes, I know for me, and for our staff, it's really about trying to remove those barriers that allow our players the freedom to go out, try new things, explore the game, and really try to, we use the motto "play free," and I think that's a big part of the environment that we're trying to create. We want to bring in great players that obviously, have a certain skill set, but at the same time, once we bring those good players to us that have skill and can possess the puck and make plays, let them go do that, and really put them in an environment to encourage them to explore and get better. And I think when you remove the reins and you get rid of the glass ceiling, players, people really, they surprise you with what they can do. And I think that's something that I've learned over time is we've got to just motivate and inspire to push them to the next level and let them go and explore. And you'd be amazed with what they come back and do.
That's amazing. I love what you're talking about and like how you're messaging it with your team. Curious on some of those, because you've touched on it a few times in a few of your other interviews about never finished. We play free. Dreams individually versus dreams as a unit, a full team, and then just impact comes from action. Curious where maybe some of these have come from, how they've evolved, and how you're using with your team. So I think it's all powerful stuff, and I know Dan and I both are big proponents of allowing more freedom and giving our players the permission to make mistakes, permission to try things. And the few women players that I've had the privilege of coaching, I found that it was about giving permission. Little boys seem to just take it and run with it, but the women need to have that permission given to them.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. And, for us, I think, it's got to be more than just a hashtag, more than just a phrase. And I really think we, as a staff, try to, make these things come to life every day, whether it be how we practice or, just making the rink a destination every day for our players to come. We want to encourage them to come and have a great time, leave school behind, and look forward to coming to the rink and having fun. And, the play free motto, I think, has been a big part of who we are. I think an additional layer to that, I think when you're talking about people and athletes and them trying to unlock their full potential, I really think we as coaches, you can see things that get in the way. I think a lot of times, when players don't quite understand their role, or, they don't have clarity on their role, or they don't have clarity on who they are as a player, that can hold them back from becoming who they want to be as a player. And so I think it's our job as coaches to really provide some clarity there and help them set a clear path to the things that may be getting in the way, or get around the things that are getting in the way of them unlocking their true potential. And that is stemmed fully in the relationships I think that we build, and whether it's, you know, role definition, talking about their strengths, setting a clear path of their development plan, and what's next in order to see them grow. You know, we really just want to be locked in step with our players on how to do that. I think that's a big part of it. And the other thing that we're really interested in is trying to better understand why people do what they do. You know, like why do players play? And that's something that we'll often ask in recruiting and try to better understand. I think what we found is, you know, the best players, the ones that have the most room for growth, they play because they truly love the game. And I think when you have that passion and that love behind what you do, no matter what it is, it's so much easier to unlock that versus the player that's playing because mom and dad want them to, or because there's a scholarship involved, or any other kind of external factor, you know, that might be driving the bus, but it's not the way to truly unlock your full potential. So that play free model, I think it touches on a lot of different things for us, you know, and we're really just trying to pull out the best in all the people in our program. Whether you're you know, an equipment manager, we want you to love what you do, you know, and we want to bring in people that love what they do, because if you're motivated by other things, I don't think you can. And the same goes for players and coaches alike. So that's a big part of where we're moving.
That's awesome. And that's a great answer. I'm curious from a recruiting standpoint, aside from the passion that you brought up, what kind of player are you looking for? Like, what's the prototypical Colgate recruit look like?
Yeah, I mean, for us, you know, there's a tremendous impact or influence, I guess, in you know, trying to build upon our identity. I think the biggest thing, one of the best things we've done as a staff over the years is really tried to identify what that Colgate player looks like. You know, when you have a group of like-minded people that all want the same thing, it's a really powerful thing. And so I think what we're looking for, you know, we want to identify people that, you know, have a puck possession mindset, that make plays, you know, that with an emphasis on skills, and you know, want to make plays in all three zones of the ice, and not just in the offensive zone where it's safe to do so. We want to encourage mistakes. And so, you know, it's always fun to see players that are looking to try things out there, kids that really go for it and truly enjoy the game. And I think, you know, when you combine all those aspects, I think it's, you know, those are the types of kids that as a coach, you love working with. You know, they love the game clearly, but you also know that they're going to push you as a coach to get better. And I think that's the kind of environment that we have created and we want to continue to create. It's just in this environment where everybody makes each other better around our program, and coaches are included in that. And I think as much as I would like to say we've taught our players a lot over the years, I think they continue to teach us more and more as we bring in those skilled players, and together we can help, you know, push our program forward into this next couple of years here.
Talking about teaching, I know at Elmira you did some teaching there, and we even found your Rate My Professor profile. So I'm curious how that was.
Yeah, and it was impeccable. My profile, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, you got a 5.0 on awesomeness and a 1.0 on easiness.
Well, I don't know what the easiness part's all about, but awesomeness I would agree with. No, just kidding. No, but I was when I was at Elmira, yeah, part of my job was to be, I don't know if professor is the right word, or I'd probably go with instructor, but there were 3 classes that I taught every year: introduction to bowling, ice skating skills, and introduction to golf. So for some reason, you know, they didn't want me to continue that when I moved over to Colgate, but like I said, impeccable record on ratemyprofessor.com. So
hold on, do you have a bowling background? Like, I could never teach intro to bowling.
I have no background in bowling. I probably watched a couple YouTube videos along the way. I could score a bowling game, but that's about it. And yeah, so I feel bad for the kids that were in my class, but I think we had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, it seems like a common theme. Whoever's around you has fun and enjoys themselves. So I think that's the best part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great time, but I'm thankful that my instructing days are over in PE classes.
Well, you're a lifelong learner here, so I'm curious of what drives you, what you're looking for as a lifelong learner. I know you're probably just like myself and Dan, just continuously curious and looking at everything. Is there a place that you like to get inspiration from, etc.?
I really try to take inspiration, from all sorts of resources. I think for me, certainly, enjoy reading. When you're in the car, driving to a recruiting event, you're driving with the family. I love to put a good audio book on or a podcast. I think, I'm a new dog owner here, so I've been going on a lot of walks, listening to your podcast or listening to, some different things while we're out walking the dog, and just trying to, like you guys, trying to pick up little nuggets along the way. But I think for me, the thing that's been, the best piece about growing as a coach is, over time you create a pretty good network, and I think over time I've been better at reaching out to some of those people, that I got to know early in my career, and rekindling some of those relationships, and just picking up the phone and spending some time asking questions that may be on my mind. And last summer, or sorry, 2 summers ago, spent a lot of time on the road, a day with this person, a day with that person, and really just picking the minds of some of the people that I respect the most in our industry. And that to me has been some of the best professional development that I've done, to go back to the well a little bit in the relationships, and rekindle some of those great relationships that we've cultivated over time.
So 2 summers ago now, time flies, man. I spent about a week on the ice with Steph DeCoste, one of your assistant coaches, at a Daryl Belfry camp in the Northeast New York area. I guess, one, talk about Steph a little bit, and just the kind of person and coach he is, and kind of following that path. What's it like putting together a staff? Like, how's that been for you?
Yeah, great question. And I mean, just talk about Stefan, first of all. I mean, he, we talk about great hockey minds here, and he is someone that, not only full of passion and energy for the game and for development, but he's, extremely passionate about being a lifelong learner and continuing to move the needle forward, not just, with our program, but inside of women's hockey. A lot of the things we've talked about today, I think about Steph and just how we've collaborated over the years. We've worked together for, about 6 years. He came in as a volunteer coach for us in his first year, and has emerged into being one of the best assistant coaches in the country, if not the best, in my opinion. And, he's just so passionate about the game. His hunger for growth and for learning is something that I think inspires all of us. And I've been so lucky to have not just a great coach on my staff, but one of my best friends in the world. And he's had just a tremendous impact on all the people here on our program. And to segue into our staff, I think we've been incredibly fortunate. As I said, like, we've had so many good people come through the door here and influence not only myself but our players. And Chelsea Walkland's our other assistant, and really, as I pride myself on trying to outwork our opponents, and always have. And I think in order to build a program like we have, we've got to have a staff that's invested. And so for me, it's first and foremost surrounding myself with people that are a lot smarter than I am, that bring a diversity of skills to our staff. I think that's an important piece, that we're not all good at the same things. And then And then thirdly, maybe most important, is we truly enjoy each other, and we want to be around each other, and we want to push each other to be better. It's not about always being seeing things the same way, or even agreeing all the time. But I think when you have a staff that works so well together, we can have differences, we can beat up ideas, but when it comes to delivering messages to the team, there's a tremendous amount of loyalty, and we're all on the same page, even though maybe we started in a different place. So it's over time. I've been so lucky to have great staffs, and currently with Chelsea and Stefan, they make me better every day, and I know they make our players better. We're all lucky that they're a part of our program today.
And you had just added a new gentleman halfway through the season who actually wrote a few of our newsletters, Jackson Polish. So sounds like you guys are picking up good people there as well.
Yeah, Jackson's doing a great job, and we're lucky to have him as our director of operations. And he's eager, and someone that's chomping at the bit to continue to learn. And so we think he's in a great spot to be able to do that, and hope to help him keep moving along in the hockey ranks.
So I got one more for you. And again, thanks for coming on. And I'm always curious about this, because it's probably the most important thing in hockey is how do you communicate? What have you changed? And what are maybe some specifics that our listeners can take away on your communication style, and how to take it and kind of make it their own? Because I think it's so basic, but yet it's probably the most influential. It's not so much what you know, but how you're able to communicate it, and just keeping people in the loop.
Yeah, well, that's a great question. I think that's really at the core of all walks of leadership is how we communicate. And something for me, that I've learned is just the importance of involving others in everything that we do. I think when you have when you share the vision, when you collaborate with the people that you work with, it's much more feasible, I think, to get everybody on board and inspired about where you're going as a program. And so that's something that I think that I've really tried to do over time, is just involve our constituents, involve our players in decisions that we make, involve our staff more, rather than kind of leading with an iron fist, with those power tools that we talked about earlier, Dan, and trying to share that, and through some of those conversations that we've had over the years as a program, whether it be about our program's values, the vision that we have set out on. I think when you involve other people in that process, you're going to get a lot more out of them when it comes time for the rubber to hit the road. It's not then just something that I've dictated or said or asked of them. It's something that they're invested in because it was their idea, and it's something that now others are inspired to live up to. And so I think that's been an important part of just my evolution as a leader. And I think how we communicate all those things is a direct reflection of involving others in the process.
I love that. I think it's so important to involve more people, especially like you said, on the buy-in side of it. If you're just coming at them with stuff, it's a lot tougher. And I know myself as a young kid, if someone came at me with saying you have to do this, I was probably going to try to do the exact opposite. So,
right,
big fan there.
Right, exactly.
Actually, I got one more question for you, and I guess it kind of goes around your possession style and how that came to be. Because I'm a big fan of the best defense is just having the puck. We don't have to play any other way. So you've kind of nailed it a little bit and gone around it, but I want to get directly at possession hockey and why that's a thing. I originally got it from Barcelona, and I love soccer. My freshman year at Akron, they won national titles, so couldn't not be involved since we are actually good at a sport. But it's quite something. So I'm curious what you think about it.
Yeah, well, I would agree with you. I think when we first started talking about moving to more of a possession game model, I'd say it was heavily influenced by by soccer, and tried to bring in a lot of those parts into our game. I would agree with you in the sense that I think the best defense is having the puck and possessing the puck. And so, I mean, there's a lot of different ways we could go with it. I think in hockey over time, I don't know about you guys, but, growing up in certain areas of the ice, I remember my coaches talking about, don't pass the puck in front of your net, or, you're at the blue line, don't turn it over at the blue line. Like, those were some of the constant messages that I recall growing up. And so for so many years, there's been, a stigma associated with different areas of the ice, and players being scared to make plays in those areas of the ice. And I think that's something that as a staff, we've really tried to move away from. Rather than punting pucks and getting rid of the puck there, or not moving the puck in front of our own net, we've really encouraged our players to explore those areas of the ice, and rather than just throwing the puck away or giving it to somebody else, like, challenge them to make a better play. And I think sometimes when you just expect more out of players in those areas, again, as I said earlier, it's really surprising what they can show you they can do. And now all of a sudden you've got a confident defenseman who's making a skilled play at the blue line under pressure, and that extends our zone time even longer. And so I think when you stack those things up on top of each other, again, talk about the women's game, especially having more room to grow. I think that's an area where we can come to expect more out of our players, more out of our skilled players to make plays in those stigmatized areas of the ice. And so that's something that we're really passionate about. And I feel like we've come a long way in it, and we continue to explore it and try and move the needle forward on this possession mindset.
That's awesome. And it's funny you say that. So the program I coach, we have a 10 and under team, 12 and under, and 14 and under team. And I don't know, not to toot our own horn, but like we definitely make it known to our kids that, like, this is a free space to make mistakes, like never punt the puck ever. If you get to turn it over, like, that's fine. We'll talk about it later, but don't be afraid. So by the time they get to me at 14, like, they're very confident making those plays, almost like to a fault, maybe. Like, I love it. Like you said, I think it's like better to kind of like, I don't know how to say it, tighten it up like later, as opposed to, almost like retrain their mind when you get them in college. Like, how difficult is it for some of these players who have been taught for, literally 10 plus years to like not make this play, to like kind of reprogram their brain?
Yeah, that's a great point. It does come with challenges because every player that comes into a program, a college program, is coming from a different background with different experiences. So now that's why I think having a really clear identity of the types of people that you want to bring into your program becomes really important, first and foremost, and that desire to explore the game. But beyond that, like, I also think a big part of breaking those old habits or that old mindset is about how we structure our practices and how we practice every day, quite frankly. And I think one thing that we have really tried to do is make sure that every day has, some built-in time for us to play, and play games where players are making plays at the offensive blue line under pressure. Have games structured where players are encouraged to only use the middle of the ice and not allow them to use the wall. And I think when you do that and you stack those instances on top of each other, they're forced to explore through the games, or through the small games especially. And then once you've kind of done that and you start to see it come to fruition in gameplay, even though they might be a little bit uncomfortable at first, I think the more you reinforce, what you like through video, and you keep watering that plant over time, it really doesn't take a whole lot for players to change their mindset about, some of the fear that once existed, making plays under pressure. So that's been a fun experience. I know for us, the year we went to the national final in 2018, that was a year. I say this to a lot of people. I could probably count the number of actual structured drills we did that year on two hands. We played a ton of games, and I think because of that, our team that year especially really adopted the play free mindset, and it really propelled us to one of the best seasons our program's ever had.
I love the concept that you bring up there about permission and pressure, and you're trying to take pressure off your players to make them play free and allow them to make those mistakes and make those plays and gain confidence. Something Dan and I have been talking a lot about lately is permission. Like, no matter what you do as a coach, you're either creating some kind of form of pressure or some form of permission, and just tweaking those to figure it out and see what that exact player needs. And I love the way that you talk about it. You're not putting structure in practice. So if you're not putting structure in practice, what kind of things are you doing?
Yeah, so I guess it's a great question. I think where I'll go with it is, leading up to that year in 2018, where we just pretty much played games, with constraints. And there was also years leading up to that year where, we did a lot of drills. And I think there is a place for structured drills, because it's kind of like the scaffolding that you need, around a building that you're trying to build. You have to have that support system there. But the other part about playing small games on a regular basis and creating an environment where players can make decisions on the fly, they can, make mistakes without consequences, is that it lends itself the opportunity for coaches then to really filter back with that player after mistakes have been made, and ask them the right question, rather than dictating, hey, this is what you need to do next time, this is what you should have done. Instead, it's, hey, what did you see on that play? What worked for you there? What didn't work? What would you do next time? And I think we find ourselves in those situations as coaches a lot when we play small games in practice. And really the game becomes the teacher, in so many ways, because then it's the player thinking about what happened there and coming up with their own answer, as opposed to us coaches dictating what should happen. And I think that's an important point, that we love about small games and the value that they bring. I'd say the other piece that's important in terms of the environment that we're creating is, when you compete in a small game in practice, it's really the closest thing to a real game that there is. Where a drill doesn't keep, you don't keep scoring a drill, but in a game you can put time on the clock, you can keep score, you can really ramp up the pressure. And I think when the pressure is on, the game's on the line, those are the things that we're trying to recreate as well.
All right, just open a can of worms that I'm very passionate about. And what you kind of said was, what would you do next time? Which sometimes can lead players down the idea of seeing the result and becoming result focused rather than process focused, because you could do the right thing and the result doesn't work out for you, or you could do the wrong thing and the result works out for you. Curious, maybe, and I think you touched on this when we first started the podcast episode here, about keeping the focus on good decision making, good process, and the results for the most part are going to follow. I mean, it's not going to happen every time. Bad things happen. There's luck involved in our game, especially hockey over other sports. There's a lot more luck involved.
Yeah, well, I think that's the game of hockey. That's what makes it, such a great game. Is, there's no cookie cutter answer to solving problems. And I think, players may make good decisions at the right time, and it might not work out. It might end up in the back of our net, but their decision may have been a good one based on their read. And I think rather than focusing on the outcome or the result, asking the question, hey, what'd you see there? Or why didn't that work out? And then the follow-up question being, why not? again, leading them down that road to answering their own question. You know, it might be a nuanced piece. It might be where the defender's stick was. It might be how their feet were positioned. But in the next rep, it might look a little bit different. And so I think by encouraging them and asking them the right questions along the way, it can also tune our players into the right details of what's really important in terms of making the right decisions, and not necessarily focused in on the outcomes that exist because of those decisions. So I think as a coach, I'm always interested in, you know, what's the player looking for? You're going back to get a puck, you know, in your own end, trying to break your team out, and your shoulder check. Well, why are you shoulder checking? What are you looking for? What do you see? And I think asking those deeper questions really is the key to helping the player unlock what's important and make the next right play.
Question asking. I think, fortunately, my dad's in the coaching business, not as a career, but I've always grown up around a dad who was a hockey coach, and figuring out at a young age, like, question asking is the key element to leadership, and trying to draw out the best in people. So I love that answer. Really do. Dan, do you have any follow-up questions on that? I mean, I could go another hour based on what we finished up here, but I also want to be respectful of time.
No, go ahead, Greg.
No way. We need to have Greg back on again. He needs a second episode where we'll dive into the leadership aspects and question asking and really drawing these things out, because this is not something that's quick. 5 minutes. No way.
Yeah, we can keep going forever on this. I agree.
Yeah,
fun.
It's what you don't think of when you first get started, but once you get into it, you're like, it's just mind-boggling how much value is in it.
Yeah, I agree. The questions piece for me is something that I'm always reflecting on, and I feel like I could always do better, you know, as a coach. I think I find myself as I fall into the trap from time to time, and you know, telling players what to do. And it's hard in the moment, you know. I will say that I think you guys probably find yourselves in that situation too, where you want to give players the answer because they want the answer. And that's something that, you know, I noticed over time is, you know, you're in a game, players come back to the bench, and, you know, they turn around and say, hey, what should I have done there? And really, when you think about it, it doesn't matter what you say. As a coach, it matters, you know, how they work through problem solving and coming up with the solution for themselves the next time. And that's where I think asking the right questions as a coach has a tremendous amount of value, because you really flip the script and you get them thinking about really coming up with their own answers, which at the end of the day, that's what's most important, because they're the ones playing the game.
Yeah, I once heard someone talk about this. It was on their own coaching process. They went from yelling to telling to asking.
Yeah,
Three-step process, which I thought was absolutely wonderful. But we'll wrap it up for now. We'll have you back on another time. But thanks again for coming on. I want to give you 2 minutes here at the end to plug anything you want to talk about. Floor is yours.
I'll be honest, guys, I really don't have a lot to plug. I'm just, you know, excited to be in this with you guys. I'm a big fan of the podcast. As I said, I listen to it on my walks weekly, and I was, you know, thrilled that you wanted to have me on, and just really passionate about coaching and, you know, where the women's game is going. And just thank you guys for the platform to be able to talk about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We'll catch you down the road.
Thank you for tuning into the Hockey IQ podcast. We are Hockey's Arsenal, Greg Revac and Dan Dukart. Together, we've come together to create a platform and a community to expand on hockey intelligence, hockey IQ, whatever you want to call it. We're very passionate about seeing this game played smarter and better, and continue to develop itself to the next level and staying on the cutting edge of things. So you can find us at Hockey's Arsenal on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. We're also at hockeysarsenal.com. From there, you can find some resources and some options to work with us. We're excited to continue this. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, follow, and share. You can also join up for our newsletter as well, where we're going to tackle anything Hockey IQ related. So we're excited to have everyone here and continue to build.